They finally fixed a couple of big things in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but there's still a couple of things that need to go away like today. So that's what I'm going to talk about. If you're a killer main, you're going to appreciate this video. And not only does this benefit the killers, but the overall health of the game. At least one of these things does. And while I know some people have said, oh, it's always catered to the killers, I've said since the very beginning when I was playing Victim almost all of the time that this game should slightly favor the killers because they're the killers. So anyways, if you like what I do and you appreciate the Texas Chainsaw Massacre content I'm doing, consider subscribing. Let's go ahead and get into it. First thing I want to talk about is the XP balancing issue. Now, this is one of the few things that should be very balanced in the game, and it was quite obvious that victims got the majority of XP for doing a variety of different things. Whether they were cutting down bone shards, opening up doors, stabbing Grandpa, healing other victims, staying close to victims, every minute they survived, it seemed, being the last victim, surviving as the last victim, when other victims survived. There's a ton of XP to be had as the victims, and I'm okay with that. More objectives in the games gives you more to do and hopefully will stretch out the game longer, although a lot of people still like to try and speed run. I appreciate those games much more, where people kind of take their time and it's almost like immersion, right? The whole goal is to escape or to kill. And XP is not something I'm like, oh God, I only got 1,000 XP this match. If I got 4 kills, I was pretty freaking satisfied, And I'm more about the immersion than I am the XP, but at the same time, it is nice now that killers will get a boost, and we have gotten a boost since this last update. And even though it was mainly focused on content, this is pretty significant. Victims could get anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 XP if you're talking about a regular match where it wasn't ran through so quickly, and the killers maybe 3,000 XP. So now you can definitely get up to 4,000 XP and beyond, depending on the killer you play. Of course, Leatherface is really good at farming XP because if you destroy everything, you're going to get a ton of it. But again, at the end of the day, I think that's one of the minor things. I'm glad they fixed it. It's nice to see that. But there is one thing I want to add to that here in a minute. Now, the next thing is beneficial to the entire game. It's beneficial to killers, but to everybody in general. And this is the, DCing while in the middle of an execution. So if you're a family member, you're doing your execution, the victim DCs, you don't get credit for that kill. How this even got past the initial phase, how this even got through beta, I will never understand, because they had to know that this would be exploited at some point. But finally, it's fixed. You can DC all you want. Now, it can affect the lobby health, so, I don't want to say that so proudly and, have a bunch of people DCing on me every time I play the game. But, still, it's nice that, hey, you're going to get the credit for that kill, even if they DC in the middle of it. But what about some of the things that they still really need to fix? And I'm not trying to nag on this. I'm just trying to get it out there. I just hope at some point somebody from Gun, somebody from Sumo will see one of these videos, listen to the community, and just fix it. And I know that when they respond to people on X and stuff, they say that they're always looking into it. And I believe them. But the Grandpa cutscene has to go away. It is so obnoxious. And it never really bothered me that much before. I thought it was obnoxious, but then when I started playing as Leatherface, overheating my chainsaw in the middle of a chase, and all of a sudden, Grandpa, it just pops up out of nowhere. I don't need to know all of this. I don't need to know that he's awake. Just give me a little title card at the top of the screen. Let everybody know, hey, Grandpa's awake. That's all I need. It is so annoying to have your chainsaw just freaking die on you. You see the victim that's right in front of you, and they just teabag a couple of times and run away. I really cannot stand it. So that's something, man, they need to fix like tomorrow. Another thing that I want to talk about is I appreciate the additional XP. I really do. But I feel like they could utilize this system so much better. People can, typically wait a little bit longer on a map if you're still giving them a reason to want to play inside of your game. And I know I've brought this up before, but I'll continue to do that because I just feel like this would extend the game so much longer. So that period in between, your DLC drops and your map drops. Again, I understand they're smaller. It takes some more time to do things like new characters, new maps. They're tied to the 1 XP. That probably makes it a little bit tougher. They're trying to come up with stuff just like the Nicotero Leatherface where, it ties into the story somewhere, even if it's made up, it still ties into the story. But there's so many simple things they could do that would allow you to use your XP for something other than skill points because not everybody cares about leveling up every single killer or even victim in the game. If you have something just as simple as different weapons, cosmetics is another really simple one. And this is what a lot of games do. As you level up, you can get additional cosmetics. Your premium stuff is behind a paywall. That's totally fine as long as you have something to work for. You got your main avatar up at the top corner of your screen, right next to your level. They could do different avatars. You could unlock different intros, maybe different cutscenes in the game. You could even unlock, I don't know, some kind of sticker pack or something that you can put on your weapons as the family. Just like simple t-shirts and stuff for people that play as victim. I mean, hell, they could even do emotes at this point. As much as I hate emotes, and I'll be the first one to admit that, I just feel like there's so many more things they could do to extend the game in between DLC. If you use games like, Dead by Daylight as an example, the most successful asymmetrical horror game out there, I think they could use some tips from them to be able to extend this. And even though I like Texas Chainsaw more than Dead by Daylight, there's no denying that DBD has been around for a long time, and there's a reason for that. I think by getting XP, you get the shards, you can unlock different characters and stuff in Dead by Daylight, and it's not as restrictive as this game. I understand that, but just, again, reasons to want to use that XP and continue to play the game, I think are vital to the success of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Another solution to this that I talked about, and I've mentioned before, is an in-game currency that you can use. If it's not tied to XP, it can be tied to that in-game currency. But the only way to get that in-game currency is by finishing matches. If you disconnect early, like, I don't know, they would have to figure out a way, because victims should be able to disconnect after they've been killed, but it would have to be a certain period of time, maybe 5 seconds after you've actually been killed. So you're not doing it during executions and stuff like that. I'm not really sure how that would work because I feel like sometimes when you have like multiple people leave, it can disrupt the balance. It actually can crash the game at certain times. So they have to work something out there as far as the server or however it works on their side. But either way, an in-game currency could work in place of the XP. Like I said, if you make it to where you can only get that if you finish matches, that may fix a lot of issues in and of itself. So these are just a couple of things that I think they really need to focus on. By the way, it's coming up on Halloween. I am shocked we didn't get a Halloween event for this year. I mean, this is like the perfect Halloween game, but I don't know. That's just me. That's all I'll say about that right now. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.